There is a $30 multi-tool from a brand you have never heard of that outcuts a Leatherman costing 8 times as much. I know that because I watched it happen on my own bench. The cheap one clipped clean through hard steel wire that chewed up the cutters on the expensive one. And here is the part that should bother you if you own the expensive one. The cheap tool and the famous flagship it copies are, mechanically, the same tool. The plier frame is identical, the tools swing out of the handle in the same layout, and the pivots sit in the same spots. The only real difference between them is the logo stamped on the side and about $200. That gap is not quality, it is a story you are paying for. And right now that story has a crack running through it. Because the patents that protected the famous multi-tool designs have expired, so the good cheap copies are finally legal to build, and nobody has dropped the price of the real thing to match. If you have been burned on both ends of this, a junk drawer of no-name tools that stripped out on the first tight screw, and the quiet suspicion that the premium one you almost bought is mostly logo, this video is for you, because there is a right way to buy cheap, and I am going to hand you the tell. 6 cheap multi-tool brands almost nobody talks about, all of them punching way above what they cost, plus one bonus hiding in the hardware aisle where you would never think to look for a multi-tool. I am counting down to the one I would hand any city carrier first, and it is not a clone at all. No sponsors here, no brand deals. Every pick earned its spot the hard way, in a pocket. Number 6. Nextool. If you have heard the name at all, you probably filed it under cheap gadget brand, one of those companies that turns up in a phone accessory aisle, and you moved on. That instinct costs you here, because Nextool is one of the very few budget outfits actually designing its own tools instead of tracing someone else's. The Mini Sailor and the little flagship models are light, genuinely light. We are talking a few ounces, with tight joints and a snappy action that feels nothing like the wobbly no-name junk you brace for at the price. The giveaway is the rebadge. That same Mini Sailor gets sold under a bigger, more trusted flashlight brand's name for noticeably more money. Same tool, different label. The markup on the famous version buys you tighter quality control and a warranty desk, which for some people is genuinely worth paying for, but the piece of metal in your hand is the one Nextool drew up. It is cheap because they sell it direct and spend nothing telling you it exists. Do the arithmetic that carriers who own one keep pointing out. A Nextool Mini Sailor and a classic Swiss Army knife together, both in your pocket, cost less than a single Leatherman Micra keychain tool on its own. 2 tools for less than one. The steel is where it gives itself away. Nobody carrying one trusts the blade to hold an edge for long, and the knife hinge can loosen up over a year of daily flicking. So this is not your one hard-use tool. It is the flat, light, forget-it-is-there option for a city pocket that mostly needs a small blade, a driver, and a pair of scissors. Think opening mail, breaking down a delivery box, tightening the screw on your sunglasses. For that kind of day, at that price, it is a genuinely absurd amount of tool for the money. Number 5. The SOG Power Pint. Pick one of these up and squeeze the pliers, and you will feel it immediately. The plier head is the whole reason this tool exists. On the Power Pint, and its slightly bigger brother, the Power Leader, the jaws use a compound leverage hinge that gives you real crushing force out of a tool that weighs about 4.5 ounces and vanishes in a front pocket. There is a 1/4-inch bit driver tucked in the handle that takes standard bits, and the Power Leader even folds in a corkscrew while still coming out smaller and lighter than a comparable Leatherman. Ask the carriers who run one and you hear the same line every time. It is the pocket pliers tool that never once makes them wish they had brought something bigger for a normal city job. Now, SOG is a brand a lot of experienced carriers quietly wrote off years ago. There was a stretch where the name got stuck on some tactical nonsense, and the forums still carry a low background hum of "Don't fall for SOG." That soured reputation is exactly why the market underprices the one thing SOG nailed. It is sitting there around $30–35 while everyone looks straight past it. Now the part nobody selling it will tell you. Everything that is not the pliers on this tool is merely okay. The scissors are mediocre, the blade is base stainless, so the edge rolls if you lean on it. You are not buying a do-everything tool here. You are buying the best compact pliers and driver in the price bracket, and accepting that the rest is filler. Go in knowing that, and it is a steal. Expect a Swiss Army knife's fit and finish, and you will be let down. Number 4. Roxon. Roxon answers the exact complaint I just made about the SOG. Flip a better Roxon model over, and you will find D2 blade steel on it. That one fact is the entire pitch, because D2 holds an edge noticeably longer than the 420HC stainless that a lot of Leathermans still ship with, and Roxon is charging a fraction of the price for the harder steel. Say the brand name to most Americans and you get a blank look, and that blank look is the only reason it is this cheap. It is an up-and-coming Chinese brand with basically no shelf presence in the stores people actually walk into, so it has no reputation to charge for yet. Most of the tools deploy one-handed, which is a feature that otherwise mostly lives on Leatherman's pricier line. And Roxon builds a modular system, the Flex platform, where you swap components in and out of one base instead of buying a whole new tool, and it undercuts the pricier modular tools trying to do the same thing. A guy I know from a knife meetup runs that one platform and just changes the pieces for whatever he is into that week. A plier head 1 month, a different set of drivers the next. There is a real 10-year warranty standing behind it, which is not nothing from a brand this young and this cheap. 2 things to know going in. The pliers are the one part you cannot flick open one-handed. You have to roll them out, so it is not truly one-handed no matter what the product listing wants you to believe. And some models come loaded with survival housing, a ferro rod, a whistle, molded in plastic that just gets in the way. In the city, that ferro rod is decoration. You are never striking a spark to start a fire on your commute, and it does not take much use before the plastic housing starts chewing itself up anyway. Buy the plain version, skip the campfire cosplay, and you have got genuinely good blade steel at a price that should not be possible. Quick pause before the top 3, because this next bit is worth more than any single brand on the list. Give me 30 seconds and you will be able to price one of these yourself, in the store, without recognizing a single name on the shelf. Start with the steel. Flip the tool over, find the code stamped near the blade, and read it straight against the price tag. D2 or better is a genuine upgrade. 420HC is the honest workaday standard, nothing wrong with it. But a $60 tool running the soft 3CR grades is telling on itself, because you are paying a premium for steel that dulls if you look at it wrong. Put it down and walk. Then the bits. Does it take standard 1/4-inch hex bits you can buy anywhere, or the maker's own proprietary flat ones? Standard bits you replace for pocket change at any hardware store. Proprietary bits are the trap, usually softer than the loose ones you would buy, and you are locked into ordering them online for the life of the tool. Last thing, open the pliers, count the tools you would genuinely reach for, and ignore the number printed on the box. A multi-tool lives on its pliers plus the 2 or 3 implements you actually use. 21-in-1 is a marketing figure, not a feature. Anything bolted on for the apocalypse, the glass breaker, the whistle, the fire steel, is dead weight on a city commute. If even one pick here has already talked you out of a bad buy, do me a favor and subscribe. I spend these videos hunting the gear that quietly beats its price tag, and there is always more of it. Now, the top 3, and this is where the price gaps stop being funny and start being genuinely absurd. Number 3, Ozark Trail. Yes, the Walmart house brand. I know exactly how that sounds, and I know half of you just braced for a punchline. The joke lands on the doubters, though, because the Ozark Trail Multiforce is one of the best value wave-style clones on the market, and that is not luck. The word among carriers is that it rolls off the same production line as the better-known budget clone brands, just wearing a different name and a big box price tag. So confirm the exact model before you buy, but the pedigree is a lot better than the shelf it is sitting on. 2 things make it the value king of the clones. It runs a harder 7CR steel where a lot of its rivals cheap out with the soft 3CR, so it holds up to real use. And then there is the part nobody accounts for, because it is a Walmart product. The warranty is you walking back into any Walmart. An electrician I know swears by that exact thing. He told me a mail-in warranty means shipping your tool off for a month, but he can swing by Walmart on his lunch break and swap a broken one straight off the shelf, with no form to fill out and nothing to mail. That in-store return is worth more in the real world than most brands' paper guarantees. You might be wondering, if the same factory makes this and the clone I am about to rank higher, why does this one sit at number 3? Fair question. The tool I am about to name costs even less, takes the standard bits, and you can buy a handful of them. Ozark trades a little of that away for the harder steel and that Walmart counter behind you. Both are right answers, they just answer slightly different questions. The Ozark's real weakness is quality control. Their gear in general can be a bit of a lottery, and some owners report the finish rusting or a part bending under real load. But at that price, with the return desk as your safety net, you buy it, you check it over, and if you drew a good one, you have got a wave clone that will run for years for the cost of 2 lunches. Number 2. Bibury. This is the one. If you take nothing else away from this whole video, write this brand down. Bibury is the no-name Amazon clone that carriers reach for instead of the expensive tools sitting in their drawer, And the entire arbitrage this format is built on lives, right here in this pick. For around $30, a Bibury hands you a near-complete copy of a Surge or a Wave, which are the flagship full-size Leatherman designs, the ones that built the brand. And it is legal, not stolen, because the core patents on that folding plier design have run out. That is the crack in the wall this whole video is about. The moment that patent lapsed, the exact tool the famous brand charges a premium for became something any competent factory could simply build. But price alone is not what makes grown carriers actually switch. It is the bits. A Bibury takes standard quarter-inch hex bits and standard Torx pivots, which means you can service the entire tool with parts off a hardware store peg. Set that against the famous brand's proprietary bits, which are the single loudest complaint you will ever read from their own owners. Hard to find, priced like jewelry, and oddly soft, so they strip and round off. The $30 clone quietly fixed the exact thing the $200 tool refuses to fix. Straight talk now, and it goes for every pick on this list, not just this one. A cheap tool is a false economy if you truly abuse it for a living. The pliers on any of these, Bibury included, are cast, not forged, and they will crack if you use them as a pry bar or crank on them all day on a job site. I have carried a $30 Bibury for a couple of years now, and it has been flawless, but it lives an urban life. It opens boxes, tightens the hinge on a cabinet, strips a wire. If your day is genuinely 8 hours of beating on a tool, flip the whole calculation. One Leatherman with a 25-year warranty you can actually claim ends up cheaper than 3 cheap tools you snap and toss in a year. That is the real trade, stated plainly. But for the city carrier who wants a capable, competent tool, they will not mourn if it is lost, dropped down a drain, or scuffed to hell. The Bibury is the single best dollar-for-dollar buy on this entire list. Buy 4 for the price of 1 flagship, keep 1 in your work bag, and scatter the rest wherever you always wish you had a tool and never do. The glove box, a kitchen drawer, a desk. Losing one cost you a few bucks and 0 grief. Number 1. Victorinox. Every pick so far has been a clone or a scrappy underdog. The number 1 goldmine is neither, and I know exactly what runs through your head when you see the name. The most famous brand in the whole category is not exactly one everyone ignores. Hear me out, because what everyone genuinely ignores is the cheap end of Victorinox, and after all these years it is still the pick I would put in a brand new carrier's pocket over anything else on this list. When people picture a Swiss Army knife, they picture the bloated red brick with 30 tools crammed into it, the gift shop thing that nobody on earth actually carries every day. So they sleep on the small ones. The Cadet, the Tinker, the Little Rambler, the Compact. These run well under $50, they are made in Switzerland rather than offshore. And for the actual reality of urban carry, they do more useful work in a day than a bulky plier tool ever will. A good blade, a driver or two, and a pair of scissors that are, with no exaggeration, the best in the entire category. That is most of what a city day ever asks of you. What earns it the number 1 spot is simple. It is the tool you will actually have on you. I have had a Cadet clipped in a pocket for years, and I genuinely forget it is there until I need it. It is flat and light enough that it clears a nice dinner and an office without a single person noticing, and a bladeless version like the Rambler-style tools will even clear an airport in your carry-on bag. The most capable tool on earth does you no good in a drawer at home because it was too fat for your pocket that morning. This one never gets left behind. It is warranted for life, it will outlast you, and it costs about the same as a couple of takeout meals. The one obvious limitation is no pliers. If your day genuinely calls for a set, pair it with one of the cheap clones from earlier in this list and you have covered every base for well under $100 combined. But be honest with yourself about how often that actually is. For a huge number of carriers, the truth is you reach for the blade and the scissors 9 times out of 10, and the pliers were always more fantasy than need. One bonus, because I promised you one. The Milwaukee Fastback. Walk into any Home Depot and it is right there by the register for around $20, and every single person walks past it thinking it is just a folding utility knife. It is not. The multi-tool versions of the Fastback pack a centered, extendable locking bit driver that is honestly a better driver than the one built into most full-size multi-tools, because it sits on the tool's center line where you can actually put your weight behind it instead of off to the side. It flicks open one-handed, it locks up solid, and it takes standard bits. Ask around in the trades and the Fastback gets talked about like a cheat code, the $20 thing that quietly outperforms tools 3 times its price. Nobody prices it as a multi-tool because it is sold as a job site knife, so the value just sits there ignored in plain sight next to the tape measures. The trade-off is that it is built around a replaceable utility blade rather than a fine pocket knife blade, and it obviously has no pliers, so it is a driver and cutter, not a do-it-all. But for a lot of city carriers, a locking one-hand blade and a real bit driver for $20 is the whole game. Line them all up, and the through line jumps out. Not one of these got cheap by cutting the part that matters in your hand. A patent ran out, or a brand never spent $1 making itself famous, or a genuinely good model got buried under a name you had already filed away as something else. The story got peeled off the tool, and for a little while you can just buy the tool without it. Once that clicks, you shop differently, and the 6 names stop mattering. You can pick up anything on any shelf, read the steel against the price, glance at whether the bits are standard or a trap, and know in about 10 seconds whether it is worth the ask. That instinct outlives every brand on this list, and it works on a lot more than multi-tools. The expensive tools are not a con either. A Victorinox Swiss tool is machined to tolerances a clone will never touch, tight enough that nothing works loose after years of hard use. Leatherman's warranty is the rare one you can genuinely cash in. If you truly live on a tool day in and day out, that build and that backing are worth real money. The only honest question is whether that is actually you, or whether you just want it to be so the pricey one feels justified. So keep it simple. Most people watching this should carry a small Victorinox and quit thinking about it. If your days run rougher than that, keep a Bibury or an Ozark Trail around as the beater you can lose without a flicker of regret. And the day you genuinely start punishing a tool for a paycheck is the day you pay once for the overbuilt Leatherman or the Swiss tool and let the warranty carry it for the next 25 years. Now I want yours. What is the cheapest tool in your rotation that has quietly outlasted stuff 3 times its price, the one you would grab again in a heartbeat? Put the brand in the comments. Honestly, half my picks for the next one of these come straight out of that box, so you are not just talking to me, you are building the list.